There's that music again. Come close by the pond, little ones. The rain has gone on down the valley, the reeds are shining, and the mud is doing what mud does best, which is looking very innocent for something that is about to be involved. Today, I want to ask you something. Have you ever watched two friends both want something good, and somehow the good things bumped into each other? Have you ever stood in the middle and thought, I should say something, but maybe later? Listen close. The answer is in the story. God gives peace to be made, not merely wished for. And sometimes the quietest creature at the pond is the one who has to begin. It happened on the morning after a long, soft rain, when every leaf was holding one last drop, and every puddle had its own little sky. Down by the lower pond, the rain had left a smooth brown ribbon of mud between the cattails and the flat listening stones. It was not deep mud. It was not dangerous mud. It was, however, extremely suggestible mud. The sort of mud that says, in its quiet, muddy way, somebody is about to have an idea.
New favorite thing.
That was Rex, of course, because Rex can hear a puddle thinking about fun from halfway across the meadow. He scooted to the edge of the ribbon, placed one paw carefully in the mud, and gave a tiny slide. Not a wild slide, not a crash, just a gentle shoop, the kind that makes an otter's whole face turn into mourning. Shelly was already there too, sitting on the warm, flat stone with one clover leaf beside her, watching the mud the way Shelly watches most things, slowly enough that the thing has time to confess what it is becoming.
That mud is about to have a busy morning.
And she was right, because a useful thing can become a quarrelsome thing very quickly when nobody asks what it is useful for.
Friends, this is a splash lane, a perfect one. It is smooth, it is safe, it goes shoop. I have never respected mud more.
Wait, I just had 7 ideas. This is not a splash lane. This is clearly a listening lane. Hear that? The frog chorus is bouncing off the mud at a 37% more thoughtful angle.
Can an angle be thoughtful?
In my notebook, yes.
And along came Bongo, carrying 3 sticks, 1 leaf, a berry basket, and the face of a bear cub who had just discovered a problem he was absolutely sure he could solve before understanding it.
I got this. I don't got this yet. But I can feel got this arriving. We need fairness. Rex can have this side for sliding. Zippy can have that side for listening. And I will draw one very fair line right down the middle.
So Bongo dragged a stick through the mud. Scritch, scritch, scritch. There it was, a straight brown line, as fair as a ruler, and about as good at listening.
Behold, a border, friends, neighbours, residents of the left mud and the right mud, I, Garingo, shall supervise the official not crossing thereof.
That seems potentially line-shaped.
I need the whole smooth part for the gentle shoop.
And I need quiet on both sides because the frog notes are arriving from several directions and one of them may be educational.
Then the left mud requests silence, and the right mud requests shoop. The chair recognizes the mud.
The mud has not raised a hand.
What if the listening lane listens to one shoop first? A very small shoop. A whisper shoop. A shoop with indoor feet.
Shoop with indoor feet is not currently in my system. I can add it, but I will need a new column and possibly a smaller pencil.
Great! We will take turns. Rex gets 5 shoops, then Zippy gets 5 listens. Then Rex gets 5 shoops, then Zippy gets 5 listens. And I will count with berries.
As neutral berry counting witness, I object only to the word neutral, because I look magnificent beside berries.
The berries may become the problem.
They did. Bongo put 5 berries on a leaf for Rex, 5 berries on a leaf for Zippy, and 1 berry in his own mouth by mistake, which caused the first formal delay in the history of the peaceable berry schedule.
I have compromised with the berries.
That is one kind of peace. Mostly between you and lunch.
Now, if you draw a line through the middle of a small thing, the line does not always make the thing fair. Sometimes it makes the friends stare at the line.
I am not against listening. I like listening. I listen to splashes all the time.
I am not against Shoop. I have a whole column labelled Shoop. It has 3 subcolumns and an emergency arrow.
Good news! I have improved the line.
He had added little signs. One sign said, "Quiet only." One sign said, "Shoop only." One sign, for reasons known only to Bongo, said, "Maybe snacks."
Snacks are neutral.
As presiding officer of the mud, I must inform all parties that the Maybe Snacks sign has tremendous public support.
I think the signs may be helping the signs.
Then Bongo tried the next fair idea. He laid his 3 sticks across the mud like little gates. Gate 1 was for waiting. Gate 2 was for deciding. Gate 3 was for crossing, unless the crossing party had unresolved feelings, in which case Garingo suggested a 4th gate called proceedings.
I do have unresolved feelings about the word proceedings.
I am still mostly feeling shoop.
The chair notes that Shoop has been entered into the record with unusual enthusiasm.
No one has asked Rex why the Shoop matters. No one has asked Zippy why the quiet matters.
Right, I can ask. Rex, why does Shoop matter? Zippy, why does quiet matter? There, asked. Excellent progress.
That was the shape of asking. It was not yet the listening part.
But the friends were busy protecting their sides. Rex stood beside the smoothest slide. Zippy hovered over the best listening stone. Bongo stood directly on the line, which meant nobody could use the line, or either side, or, for a moment, Bongo's left foot.
I wanted to play with you. I did not want to become Right Mat. Right Mat is lonely. Very official. Very muddy.
I wanted to hear the frogs with you. I did not want a lane where nobody could laugh.
And Shelly, who had seen it earlier than anyone, looked at the line and felt her quietness get heavy.
I saw it. I thought if I waited, the answer would get slower and clearer. But waiting gave the line time to become a side.
I drew the line because I wanted everybody to have a fair peace. But the line got bigger than the friends. That is not usually what I want my sticks to do.
And I may have given the line a title, a ceremony, and a small amount of government.
Nobody had meant to make a fight. That is the tricky thing sometimes. A friend can be trying to protect something good and still step on another friend's toes while doing it.
I thought God might make peace happen if I stayed calm enough beside it. But peace did not know where to stand.
The pond went quiet for a breath. Not silent. The frogs were still singing, the water was still moving, and somewhere behind me a berry rolled off Bongo's leaf. But the friends stopped arguing long enough to hear that they were tired. So I asked her one question. Not a large one. Large questions are not always helpful near mud. Shelly, what was each friend trying to protect?
Rex was protecting play. Zippy was protecting quiet. Bongo was protecting fairness. Garingo was protecting whatever a presiding officer protects.
Order mostly.
And I was protecting quiet too much. The quiet inside my shell. I should have used it to listen, then speak. I think God gives listening so peace can have paws, or wings, or in my case, feet that arrive eventually.
Then Shelly did something very slow and very practical. She stepped into the mud. Once, twice, 3 times. Not across the line, along it.
If I walk here, the line becomes a path.
Oh, a path is like a line that learned manners.
So the friends tried it. Rex made one quiet shoop, small enough that the frogs did not stop singing. Zippy listened, then nodded once, which for Zippy was nearly a parade. Bongo lifted the quiet-only sign, looked at it, and turned it around so it said, "Ask first."
Ask first is shorter than my proposed sign, which was, please submit a listening or shoop intention before entering the shared mud zone.
I only had 1 leaf.
So Shelly tried the path herself first. She walked 1 slow step through the middle, stopped, and looked to Rex.
Rex, I am crossing near the smooth place. Do you need room for shoop?
Yes, please, but I can wait while you cross. Waiting is not my favorite shoop, but it may be shoop adjacent.
Then Shelly took another step, stopped by the flat stones, and looked to Zippy.
Zippy, I am crossing near the listening place. Do you need quiet for the frog notes?
Yes, but I can listen after you pass. Also, I have discovered that watching a tortoise ask permission is extremely calming data.
Rex, the smooth curve can be your gentle shoop lane. Zippy, the flat stones can be your listening place. And this middle path is where we ask before crossing, because people are not puddles.
I can shoop quietly near the listening stones.
And I can put shoop in the notebook as a permitted joy noise, subcategory friendly.
Behold! The line is retired. The path is inaugurated. The maybe snack sign remains under consideration. Also, as presiding officer, I hereby step down before someone asks me to make minutes.
I'll get there. I always do. But next time, I may speak before the mud needs government.
And that is how the lower pond got its first peace path. Rex slid gently on one side. Zippy listened on the stones. Bongo moved the snack sign 3 times, which is more times than a snack sign usually needs to move. By the end of the morning, it did not look like much. A few tortoise tracks, 1 otter slide, 2 listening stones with no mud on top. A leaf sign that said, "Ask first," in Bongo's roundest letters. But the friends walked differently there after that.
The path is smaller than a side. That helps.
I thought fair meant exactly half, but maybe fair starts by hearing what somebody is trying to protect.
And peace is not no noise. It is the right kind of room for each other.
And sometimes the right kind of room still goes shoop.
That is close to something Jesus said in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 9. In the King James words, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." Not the peace wishers, not the peace watchers, the peacemakers. The ones who listen, step into the middle carefully, and help friends find a way back to each other. God sees that work, my friends. And notice, little ones, making peace did not erase Rex's joy, or Zippy's quiet, or Bongo's wish to help, or even Garingo's ceremony. It gave those good things a place to stand without pushing each other over. That matters because peace is not only for the loudest one, or the quickest one, or the one with the best sign. The peacemaker asks what is true for both friends, then helps the good things stop bumping into each other.
Children, gather round. It is a fact, verified beyond the objections of ordinary backpacks, that a tortoise's shell is actually part of its skeleton. Shelly is not carrying a house. She is not wearing a helmet. Her ribs and backbone are fused into that shell, which means she is, anatomically speaking, committed to the outfit. I myself have feathers, which are excellent, but they are not ribs. I checked this carefully by being an owl for many years.
Can I put that in the notebook under skeletons, external, friendly?
You may. Subcategory, architecture, that walks. Pardon, as I was saying. A tortoise shell has living bone underneath, so it is not something to tug, tap, borrow, decorate without permission, or use as a tiny conference table. Respect the shell. Respect the tortoise. Class dismissed.
And because Mud had already given us more than enough opinions, the Mud Puppies had a question about it.
I have a fact. Wait, no, I have a question. Why does mud squish?
Because the dirt is wearing tiny wet slippers.
No, because water gets between the tiny bits of dirt, and then the tiny bits slide around, like a bell, on a cold rock.
That cannot be right. It had no slippers.
Splosh was closer than he meant to be. Mud squishes because water mixes with tiny pieces of soil, and that water lets the little grains slide past each other. No slippers required. So if you find yourself near a line in the mud this week, pause long enough to ask what each side is trying to protect. Then, if you can, help make a path. That is peacemaking. Slow work sometimes. Good work always. And if your voice feels small, you can ask God for courage enough to use it kindly. Not to win the mud, not to be loudest, just to help one friend hear another. If you are the splashy one, you can ask before you rush. If you are the quiet one, you can say what you need. If you are the helpful one with a stick, you can listen before you draw. Every one of those small beginnings matters. Until the next breeze brings us together, keep listening for the water, for the quiet, and for the friend who needs a way back.
See you next time, somewhere in Shiloh Creek.